An Airbus A320 is plunging through a violent storm at 37,000 feet. The captain slumped over the controls. His heart stopped. The co-pilot's hands are shaking too badly to grip the yoke. 174 passengers are screaming in absolute hysteria, and the only person stepping forward is a skinny 16-year-old black boy in a worn-out t-shirt. But before he can reach the cockpit door, a flight attendant shoves him backward and hisses,
"Disgusting little rat! A filthy little brat like you dares to rush into the cockpit? You want to kill everyone faster, is that it?"
He does not flinch. He just looks her straight in the eyes, calm, steady. She has no idea who this boy really is. And when she finds out, she will collapse to her knees in tears. How did a homeless black orphan become the last hope for Flight 2136? Stay with me. Miami, Florida, a city of sunlight, cruise ships, and million-dollar condos lining the coast. But 14 miles from those glittering beaches, tucked behind a row of check-cashing stores and a laundromat with a broken sign, sits the Overtown neighborhood, one of the oldest and poorest black communities in the American South. This is where Benjamin Townsend grew up, if you can call it growing up.
Yeah, that's fine.
Benjamin never knew his father. His mother, Lorraine Townsend, was a 20-year-old waitress who died of pneumonia when he was 4. She could not afford the hospital bill, waited 3 days before going to the emergency room, and by then her lungs were already drowning. Benjamin remembers only one thing about her: the smell of cocoa butter on her hands when she held his face and whispered, "Baby, you are going to fly someday." He was too young to understand, but those words buried themselves deep in his chest and never left. After Lorraine died, Benjamin entered the foster care system. 12 years, 7 homes. Some were neglectful, some were cruel. In one, the foster father locked him in a garage for 2 days over a broken plate. In another, the foster mother collected the checks and fed him canned beans and stale bread. By 13, Benjamin had learned one rule: nobody is coming to save you. But he had something no foster home could take: an obsession with the sky. It started at age 6 when a commercial jet flew low over Overtown. The roar shook his ribs. The silver belly reflected the sun like a second god passing overhead. He stared until his eyes burned. From that moment, something locked onto the sky like a compass finding north. He spent every free hour at the Miami Public Library. Aircraft manuals, aerodynamics textbooks, pilot memoirs. The librarian, an old Haitian woman named Mrs. Colette, once found him asleep at closing time with his face pressed against a copy of Stick and Rudder. She did not wake him, just draped her cardigan over his shoulders and let him sleep. By 14, Benjamin could identify any commercial aircraft by silhouette. He knew the fuel capacity of a Boeing 787, the crosswind limit for an A320, the exact sequence for an emergency engine shutdown. He memorized cockpit recordings from YouTube, every call-out, every checklist. His foster siblings thought he was insane. His teachers ignored him. Benjamin did not care. The sky was the only place he belonged. Then, at 15, everything changed. A retired Air Force captain named Earl Davis walked into the Overtown Community Center. Captain Davis was 71, dark-skinned, silver-haired, back straight as a flagpole. He had landed a C-130 on a dirt strip in Afghanistan under enemy fire, earned the Distinguished Flying Cross, 32 combat missions. Now he ran a tiny volunteer aviation club for underprivileged kids that no newspaper covered, no politician funded, and no donor noticed. The first time Davis met Benjamin, he gave the boy 10 questions about flight instruments. Benjamin answered all 10 in under 2 minutes. Davis asked 10 more. Benjamin answered those too. Davis leaned back, folded his arms, and said, "Boy, who taught you all this?" Benjamin replied, "Nobody, sir. I taught myself." Davis was quiet for a long time. Then 5 words that changed everything. "I am going to teach you." Over 14 months, Davis trained Benjamin on a full-motion A320 simulator donated to the community center. 212 hours, every weekend, every holiday. Davis taught him not just how to fly, but how to think. Stay calm when instruments scream. Trust your hands when eyes fail. Breathe when the world falls apart. Before their final session, Davis gave Benjamin a hand-carved wooden model of an A320 with 5 words etched into the belly. The sky doesn't care what color you are. Benjamin kept that model in his backpack every single day. The only thing he owned that meant anything. Now, at 16, Benjamin has won a STEM scholarship. The organization is flying him from Miami to Chicago for orientation at a prestigious aviation academy, his first time on a real airplane. Gate B-22, Flight 2136, Seat 34F, last row, cheapest ticket, the seat nobody wants. He walks through the gate in a faded gray t-shirt, second-hand sneakers, and a backpack held together with duct tape. He is smiling. He does not know that in less than 3 hours, everything about this flight and his life is about to change forever. The moment Benjamin steps onto the jet bridge, he feels it. A shift in the air, a silent wall of judgment. The businessman in front of him glances back, looks him up and down, then pulls his carry-on closer to his chest as if something might go missing. A mother nudges her daughter to the other side. No one says a word. No one has to. Benjamin keeps his head down and walks to row 34. Seat 34F is wedged against the window in the last row, right next to the lavatory. The seat does not recline. The overhead bin above it is already stuffed with someone else's luggage. Benjamin does not complain. He slides in, places his backpack on his lap, and presses his forehead against the cold window. Outside, the ground crew is loading bags in the rain. He watches them and thinks about Captain Davis, about the simulator, about Chicago. For the first time in his life, something good is happening. Then he hears a voice. "Excuse me." A woman is standing in the aisle staring at him. She is in her early 60s, dressed in a cream-colored cashmere blazer, pearl earrings, leather handbag worth more than everything Benjamin has ever owned combined. Her name is Pamela Hargrove. She sits on the board of 3 charities in Palm Beach. She has never in her entire life ridden in economy class. But today, first class was full, and she was downgraded to row 33. She is already furious, and now she is looking at Benjamin like she has just found a cockroach on her dinner plate. "Is that your seat?" she asks. Not politely, not curiously, the way someone asks a stray dog how it got inside. Benjamin nods. "Yes, ma'am, 34F. Pamela's eyes narrow. She scans him, the worn t-shirt, the taped backpack, the second-hand sneakers with a hole near the left toe. Then she turns to a passing flight attendant, a tall blonde woman named Karen Bellows, and says in a voice loud enough for the surrounding rows to hear, "I need you to check this boy's boarding pass. There is absolutely no way he paid for this ticket." Benjamin's stomach drops. He reaches into his pocket, pulls out his boarding pass, and holds it up. His hand is steady, but his heart is slamming against his ribs. Karen Bellows takes the pass. She studies it. She looks at Benjamin. She looks at Pamela. Then she hands it back and says flatly, "It is valid." But Pamela is not satisfied. She leans forward and whispers, loud enough for everyone nearby to hear, "I know how these people get tickets. Stolen credit cards, fake identities. You should check the system again. I do not feel safe sitting near him." The words hit Benjamin like a slap. He says nothing. He puts the boarding pass back in his pocket, turns to the window, and stares at the rain. His jaw is clenched so tight his teeth ache. A woman sitting across the aisle, Grace Anderson, a 40-year-old nurse from Atlanta, watches the whole scene. She leans over and says softly, "Don't let her steal your joy, sweetheart. You belong here just like everyone else." Benjamin looks at her. He wants to smile but cannot. He just nods. The plane takes off. Benjamin watches Miami shrink beneath the clouds. For 20 minutes, he allows himself to breathe. He pulls out the wooden A320 model and holds it in his palm under his backpack where no one can see. He traces the words with his thumb. "The sky doesn't care what color you are." But peace does not last. At 32,000 feet, Pamela Hargrove calls Karen Bellows again. She says her purse feels lighter. She says she had $300 in cash when she boarded. She looks directly at Benjamin and says, "I want him searched." Karen Bellows walks to row 34. She does not ask politely. She says, "Stand up, open your bag." Benjamin stares at her. "What?" "A passenger has reported missing cash. Open your bag. Now!" The cabin goes quiet. Heads turn. Passengers in rows 30 through 36 are all watching. Benjamin stands up slowly. His legs feel like they are made of concrete. He unzips his backpack in full view of everyone, revealing a change of clothes, a toothbrush, a library book about aerodynamics, and the wooden airplane model. No wallet, no cash, nothing. Karen Bellows looks at the contents. She says nothing, no apology. She simply walks away. Pamela Hargrove huffs and mutters, "He probably already hid it." A man in row 31, a heavy-set businessman in a golf shirt, lets out a short laugh and says, "Kid probably never even seen $300 in his life." A few passengers chuckle. Benjamin sits back down. He puts the wooden model back in the bag with trembling hands. His eyes are burning, but he does not cry. He will not give them that. He presses his forehead against the window and stares at the clouds rushing past. The same sky that has always been his only home, his only sanctuary. And now, even here, 40,000 feet above the earth, he cannot escape what the world thinks of him. Grace Anderson reaches across the aisle and places a small packet of tissues on his armrest without a word. Benjamin does not touch them, but he sees them. And for a brief moment, in the middle of all that cruelty, one small act of kindness keeps him from breaking. 3 rows ahead, the cockpit door is closed. Behind it, Captain Ronald Beckett, a 58-year-old veteran pilot with 26 years and 18,000 flight hours, is rubbing his left arm. A dull ache has been spreading from his chest to his shoulder for the last 40 minutes. He tells his co-pilot, Craig Jennings, that it is probably just muscle tension. Jennings, 28 years old and in only his 4th month as first officer, nods and goes back to monitoring the instruments. Neither of them knows that a massive storm system is building directly in their flight path. Neither of them knows that in approximately 90 minutes, Captain Beckett's heart will stop beating. And neither of them knows that the only person on this aircraft capable of saving 174 lives is currently sitting in the last row, clutching a wooden airplane, trying not to cry. It happens without warning. A sound like a muffled explosion tears through the cabin. The plane lurches violently to the right. Overhead bins fly open, bags tumble into the aisle, drinks spill across laps. The lights flicker once, twice, then go dark for 3 full seconds before the emergency strips along the floor glow a pale, sickly green. Passengers scream, children wail. The seatbelt sign dings on with a sharp metallic urgency that sounds nothing like routine turbulence. Then the plane drops. Not a gentle dip, a free fall. 500 feet in 4 seconds, stomachs rise into throats. A woman 3 rows ahead of Benjamin vomits into her hands. The man in the golf shirt who laughed at him is now gripping his armrest with both hands, whimpering like a child. Pamela Hargrove screams so loud her voice cracks. Benjamin does not scream. His fingers are wrapped around the armrest, knuckles white, but his eyes are different. They are moving, scanning, calculating. He feels the angle of the descent. He hears the change in engine pitch. The left engine is still roaring, steady, normal. But the right engine sounds wrong, a grinding, stuttering whine that rises and falls like a dying animal. Benjamin knows that sound. He has heard it 200 times in the simulator. Compressor stall, stage 2. The plane stabilizes briefly. The intercom crackles. Craig Jennings' voice comes through, shaky, thin, trying to sound professional but failing badly. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are experiencing severe turbulence. Please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened. Everything is under control." Benjamin knows he is lying. Everything is not under control. The A320 is not designed to shake like this from turbulence alone. Something is wrong with the right engine, and the brief stabilization means the autopilot kicked in. But if the engine fails completely, the autopilot will not be enough. Not in this storm. 60 seconds pass. The plane shakes again, harder. The overhead oxygen masks deploy in rows 15 through 22. More screaming. A flight attendant stumbles down the aisle, grabbing headrests for balance, her face white as paper. Then the cockpit door opens. Karen Bellows rushes in. She comes back out 12 seconds later. Her face has changed. The professional mask is gone. What is underneath is raw, animal fear. She grabs another flight attendant and whispers something. The other attendant's hand flies to her mouth. They both look toward the cockpit like they are staring at a coffin. Benjamin watches every movement. He reads their body language the way Captain Davis taught him to read instruments, with precision and without emotion. The captain is down. He is certain of it now. Karen Bellows picks up the intercom. Her voice trembles. If there is any passenger on board with flight experience, any experience at all, please identify yourself to a crew member immediately. Silence. 174 passengers and not a single hand goes up. The businessman in the golf shirt stares at his shoes. Pamela Hargrove clutches her pearls and whispers prayers to a God she only remembers in emergencies. Nobody moves. Nobody speaks. Except Benjamin. He unbuckles his seatbelt. He stands up, and he begins walking toward the front of the aircraft. Grace Anderson sees him rise. Her eyes widen. She whispers, "Benjamin, what are you doing?" He does not answer. He just walks, steady, straight, one hand brushing the overhead bins for balance as the plane shudders beneath him. Passengers watch him pass. A teenager. A black teenager in a faded t-shirt walking toward the cockpit of a dying airplane. Some stare in confusion, some in disbelief. An elderly man grabs his wrist and says, "Sit down, son, this is not the time for games." Benjamin gently removes the man's hand and keeps walking. He reaches the front galley. Karen Bellows sees him, and her expression shifts from fear to fury. She steps in front of the cockpit door, blocking it with her body, and that is when she shoves him backward and hisses the words we already heard. "A filthy little brat like you dares to rush into the cockpit? You want to kill everyone faster, is that it?" Benjamin stands still. The plane drops again, 100 feet. Karen stumbles. Passengers scream. And in that chaos, Benjamin speaks for the first time since the crisis began. His voice is low, steady, and terrifyingly calm. The right engine has a stage 2 compressor stall. Your autopilot is compensating, but it will fail within 6 minutes in this wind shear. Your captain is unconscious or dead, and your first officer has less than 400 hours on type. If you do not let me through that door, everyone on this plane will die, including you. Karen Bellows freezes. Her mouth opens, but nothing comes out. Karen Bellows stares at Benjamin like she is seeing him for the first time. Her mind is trying to reconcile two realities: the filthy little brat she shoved 30 seconds ago, and the boy who just diagnosed the aircraft's engine failure with surgical precision. Her mouth is still open. No words come out. Behind her, the cockpit door is ajar. Through the gap, Benjamin can see it. Captain Ronald Beckett slumped sideways in the left seat, his body held in place only by the shoulder harness. His face is gray. His arms hang limp. On the right side, Craig Jennings is gripping the yoke with both hands, sweat pouring down his temples, his eyes darting across the instrument panel like a student who walked into the wrong exam. The master caution light is flashing amber. The engine warning display for the right power plant is pulsing red. And through the windshield there is nothing but black, a wall of storm clouds lit by flashes of lightning that make the cockpit glow like the inside of a strobe. The plane drops again, hard. Karen grabs the doorframe. From the cabin behind them comes a fresh wave of screaming, louder, more desperate, more primal than before. Benjamin looks at Karen. He does not repeat himself. He does not beg. He simply says, "Move!" And she does. Benjamin steps into the cockpit. The smell hits him first. Sweat, vomit, and the sharp metallic tang of electrical systems under stress. Captain Beckett's body is heavy and still. Benjamin does not look at the captain's face. He cannot afford to feel anything right now. He turns to Jennings. Jennings sees him and his reaction is immediate. "What the? Who let you in here? Get out! This is a restricted area!" His voice is high-pitched, cracking at the edges. His hands are shaking on the yoke so badly that the control inputs are jerking the plane left and right in micro-corrections that are making the turbulence worse. Benjamin sits down in the observer seat behind the center console. He speaks clearly. "Your vertical speed indicator is showing negative 1,500 feet per minute. You are descending and you do not realize it. Pull back gently. 2 degrees nose up. Do it now." Jennings stares at him. "You are a kid. A kid. Get out of my cockpit before I—" The ground proximity warning system interrupts him. A robotic female voice fills the cockpit. "Sync rate. Sync rate." Jennings' face goes white. He yanks the yoke back. Too hard, too fast. The nose pitches up aggressively. Benjamin feels the G-force press him into the seat. The airspeed drops. The stick shaker activates. A violent rattling that means the aircraft is approaching a stall. "Release pressure!" Benjamin shouts. "You are going to stall the aircraft. Nose down 2 degrees. Add thrust on the left engine now." Jennings hesitates for 1 agonizing second, then obeys. The nose dips. The stick shaker stops. The airspeed climbs back to a safe margin. The cockpit is quiet for 3 seconds. 3 seconds of pure, fragile stability. Jennings turns and looks at Benjamin, really looks at him. His arrogance is cracking. Fear is eating through it like acid through paper. He whispers, "How do you know this?" Benjamin does not answer the question. Instead, he says, "Your captain needs to be moved. I need the left seat, and I need you to contact ATC on frequency 121.5 and declare a mayday. Can you do that?" Jennings shakes his head, not in refusal, but in disbelief. "You cannot be serious. You are— How old are you?" 16, and I have 212 hours on the A320 full-motion simulator. I know every system on this aircraft, every emergency procedure, every checklist. You can either let me help you, or you can fly this plane into the ground. You have about 4 minutes to decide." The plane shudders. Lightning cracks outside so close the cockpit lights flicker. The right engine display now reads 0 thrust. It is completely dead. The A320 is flying on 1 engine in the middle of the worst storm system over the southeastern United States in 3 years. Jennings looks at Captain Beckett's unconscious body. He looks at the instrument panel, screaming warnings at him. He looks at his own hands, still trembling. And then he looks at the 16-year-old boy sitting behind him with the calmest eyes he has ever seen in his life. He unbuckles Captain Beckett's harness. Benjamin helps him ease the captain's body out of the left seat and onto the cockpit floor. Grace Anderson, the nurse from row 33, appears at the cockpit door. She does not ask questions. She kneels beside the captain and begins checking his pulse, his breathing, his pupils. She looks up at Benjamin and shakes her head slowly. Benjamin understands, but he cannot stop now. He slides into the captain's seat. His hands rest on the yoke. His feet find the rudder pedals. For 1 brief second, everything goes quiet in his mind. The screaming cabin, the howling wind, the flashing warnings, all of it fades. And he is back in the community center in Overtown, sitting beside Captain Earl Davis, hearing the old man's voice. Feel the airplane. It talks to you through the yoke, through the pedals, through the seat of your pants. Listen, and it will tell you what it needs. Benjamin presses the radio button. Miami Center, this is Flight 2136. Mayday, mayday, mayday. Captain is incapacitated. First officer is in the right seat. I have assumed command from the left seat. We have lost the right engine. Currently at flight level 310 on 1 engine in severe weather. Requesting emergency vectors and nearest available runway. Over. There is a pause on the other end. A long pause. Then a voice, controlled, professional, but unmistakably stunned, responds. Flight 2136, Miami Center copies your mayday. Please confirm. Who is speaking? State your qualifications. Benjamin looks at the instrument panel. He looks at the storm raging outside. He looks at the wooden A320 model that he pulled from his backpack and placed on the glare shield above the instruments, the only co-pilot he has ever trusted. Then he keys the mic and says, "My name is Benjamin Townsend. I am 16 years old. I have no license, but I can fly this airplane, and right now, I am the best chance these people have." Another pause. Longer this time. Then the controller's voice returns, steady, deliberate, and carrying a weight of decision that will define careers. "Copy, Benjamin. We are with you. Turning you left heading 290. Descend and maintain flight level 250. We are clearing a path. You are not alone up there." Benjamin turns the yoke gently to the left. The aircraft responds, smooth, obedient, alive. Behind him, 174 people are holding their breath without knowing that their lives now rest in the hands of a boy the world told to sit down. He is not sitting down. The news travels through the cabin like wildfire. A flight attendant whispers to another, a passenger overhears, then another. Within 2 minutes, every person on Flight 2136 knows. The captain is dead, the co-pilot cannot handle the aircraft, and a 16-year-old boy is flying the plane. A man in row 12 stands up and shouts, "A child is flying this plane? This is insane!" A woman in row 8 hyperventilates into a paper bag. The heavy-set businessman in the golf shirt storms toward the cockpit. "I am not letting some ghetto kid crash this airplane," he yells. Karen Bellows blocks him. For the first time tonight, she is not blocking Benjamin. She is protecting him. Something has shifted behind her eyes. She watched this boy diagnose a compressor stall that a trained first officer missed. She heard him talk to air traffic control steadier than any adult on this aircraft. She does not understand it, but she knows he is the only reason they are still in the air. "Sir, sit down," she says. Her voice is ice. "Now!" The man sits. Inside the cockpit, Benjamin is focused. His eyes move in a precise pattern. Airspeed, altitude, heading, engine instruments repeat every 4 seconds. Captain Davis drilled this into him until it became reflex. Jennings sits in the right seat, following Benjamin's instructions, adjusting thrust, reading checklists. He has stopped questioning. He is watching a teenager fly an A320 on one engine through a Category 4 storm with the precision of a 30-year veteran, and he has no explanation for it. Jennings keys the radio. "Miami Center, Flight 2136, requesting weather updates for alternates within a 150-mile radius," the controller responds. But before the weather update, he says something unexpected. "Flight 2136, stand by. We have someone requesting to speak directly with your left seat." A click, static, then a voice, old, deep, steady as bedrock. "Benjamin, this is Captain Davis." Benjamin's hands freeze on the yoke. For the first time since he entered the cockpit, his composure cracks, his breath catches, his eyes sting, he swallows hard. "Captain Davis, how did you—" "The FAA called me. They traced your name through the Scholarship Foundation. Wanted to know if you are real." A pause. Then, with a warmth that cuts through the static like sunlight through clouds, Davis says, "I told them you are the most gifted pilot I have trained in 50 years of flying. 212 hours on the A320 simulator, 98% proficiency rating. And I told them if my own life depended on one pilot landing that aircraft tonight, I would choose you over every captain in every airline on Earth." Silence in the cockpit. Jennings stares at the radio, mouth open. Through the cracked door, Karen Bellows is listening, her hand over her mouth, eyes wet. Benjamin closes his eyes for 1 second. He sees Captain Davis in the community center, the old man's hands guiding his on the simulator yoke, the patient voice counting through crosswind corrections, the wooden plane on the console between them. Every lesson. Every Saturday morning when the world forgot he existed, but one man did not. He opens his eyes, keys the mic. "Copy, Captain, I will bring them home." Davis replies with 5 words. The same 5 words etched into the wooden model sitting on the glare shield right now. "The sky doesn't care, son." Benjamin nods. He cannot speak. He does not need to. He adjusts heading 2 degrees left, trims the elevator, and flies. In the cabin, 174 people are silent for the first time since the crisis began. The word is spreading, row by row, whisper by whisper, that the boy in the cockpit was trained by a decorated Air Force war hero, that this boy is not a fraud, not a thief, not a street kid playing games, that he might be the most extraordinary person on this airplane. And Pamela Hargrove, sitting in row 33, mascara streaking down her cheeks, is hearing every word. She remembers every accusation, every sneer, every whispered insult. And for the first time in her life, the shame she feels is not for someone else. It is for herself. Benjamin has control of the aircraft, but control is not the same as safety, and safety is still very, very far away. Miami Center delivers the news like a surgeon delivering a terminal diagnosis, calm, precise, and devastating. Flight 2136 Chicago O'Hare is closed due to severe weather. Midway is closed. Nearest available runway is Randolph County Airport, northwestern Alabama. Runway 18, length 5,200 feet. Jennings hears the number and his face drains of color. He turns to Benjamin. 5,200 feet. Benjamin, the minimum landing distance for an A320 on one engine, wet runway, is at least 5,800. That is 600 feet short. It is not possible. Benjamin says nothing. His eyes are on the instruments. His mind is running calculations. Ground speed, descent rate, wind component, aircraft weight, remaining fuel. He keys the mic. Miami Center, confirm runway surface condition. Runway 18, wet, moderate standing water. Crosswind component 15 knots, gusting 22. Visibility 1/4 mile in heavy rain. Ceiling 200 feet. Jennings shakes his head. This is suicide. We should divert further south and wait for... Wait for what? Benjamin's voice is quiet, but it cuts through the cockpit like a blade. We have fuel for 43 minutes. The storm system extends 400 miles south. There is no further south. There is only that runway. Jennings opens his mouth, closes it. He has no answer because there is no answer. That runway, too short, too wet, too dark, is the only piece of Earth between Flight 2136 and the ocean. Benjamin begins the approach briefing. He does it from memory, word for word as Captain Davis taught him. Single-engine approach, runway 18. I will fly a manual ILS. Gear down at 1,000 feet. Flaps full at 500. Target speed 132 knots. Touchdown zone first 300 feet. Maximum reverse thrust on the left engine immediately on contact. Manual braking. No auto brake. I need to feel the wheels. Jennings writes every word down with a hand that will not stop shaking. Benjamin descends. Flight level 250, then 200, then 150. Each 1,000 feet brings them closer to the storm's violent core. The turbulence that was brutal at altitude becomes savage below the clouds. The A320 bucks and heaves like a living creature trying to throw them off its back. Rain hammers the windshield so hard it sounds like gravel hitting glass. Lightning strikes so close that the cockpit fills with white light, and the electromagnetic pulse sends a momentary spike across 3 instrument displays. Benjamin does not flinch. His hands make constant micro-adjustments, a degree left, half a degree right, a touch of trim, a nudge of thrust. He is not fighting the storm. He is listening to it, reading its rhythm, finding the gaps between the gusts the way a boxer finds gaps between punches. At 12,000 feet, the second crisis hits. A loud bang from the left engine. The thrust fluctuates, drops, surges, drops again. The engine is not dead, but it is sick. The N1 gauge is fluctuating between 78 and 84%. Unstable, unreliable. The only engine they have left is now coughing like a man with pneumonia running a marathon. Jennings sees the gauge and his composure finally breaks. No, 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 we cannot lose the left engine. Benjamin, if we lose the left engine, we are a glider. A 150,000-pound glider with no place to land. Benjamin's jaw tightens. He pulls the thrust lever back slightly, reducing strain on the engine, accepting a slower speed, trading power for survival. It is a gamble. Less thrust means a steeper descent rate. A steeper descent rate means less time to correct on final approach. Less time means less margin for error on a runway that already has no margin. He keys the mic. His voice has not changed. Still low, still steady, still terrifyingly calm. Miami Center 2136. Left engine showing N1 fluctuation. I am reducing thrust to stabilize. Request you clear all traffic and have emergency services standing by at Randolph. Full deployment. We are coming in hot and short. The controller's response is immediate. Copy 2136. All traffic cleared. Emergency vehicles are rolling. Benjamin, the whole building is listening. Bring them home. 8,000 feet. The clouds swallow the aircraft whole. Visibility drops to nothing. Benjamin is flying entirely on instruments now. The attitude indicator, the glide slope, the localizer. 3 small lines on a screen telling him where the Earth is, where the runway is, and whether he will reach it alive. In the cabin, the passengers can feel the descent. The pressure in their ears. The increasing violence of the turbulence, the awful grinding sound from the left engine that everyone can hear, but no one dares name. A flight attendant is moving through the aisle, checking seatbelts, her lips moving in silent prayer. Grace Anderson is still kneeling beside Captain Beckett's body in the cockpit doorway. She has covered his face with a blanket. There is nothing more she can do for him. Pamela Hargrove is clutching the armrests with both hands, her knuckles bone white. The pearls she wore so proudly are scattered on the floor. The string broke when the plane dropped 20 minutes ago. She does not care about them anymore. She is staring at the cockpit door, and behind that door is the boy she accused of being a thief. The boy whose bag she demanded be searched. The boy she wanted thrown off this plane. And now she is praying. Not to God, not to the pilot, but to him, to Benjamin. The boy she tried to destroy is the only one trying to save her. 5,000 feet. Benjamin calls for gear down. Jennings moves the lever. 3 green lights illuminate. Landing gear locked. The drag increases immediately. The airspeed drops. Benjamin adjusts thrust carefully, nursing the sick engine like a doctor keeping a patient alive long enough to reach the operating table. 3,000 feet. Flaps 1, Benjamin calls. Jennings moves the flap lever. The aircraft configuration changes. More lift, more drag, slower speed. The approach is stabilizing. Barely. 2,000 feet. Benjamin can see nothing through the windshield but black rain and occasional flashes of lightning that illuminate the clouds from within like the nervous system of some enormous dying creature. 1,000 feet. The radio altimeter begins counting down. 1,000, 900, 800. The synthetic voice is mechanical, emotionless. A machine counting the distance between life and death with perfect indifference. Flaps full, Benjamin calls. His voice is a whisper now, not from fear, from focus. Every atom of his being is concentrated on 3 instruments and 2 hands and 1 runway he cannot see. 500 feet. The glide slope is centered. The localizer is centered. Airspeed 134 knots, 2 knots fast but acceptable. The left engine is still fluctuating but holding. 300 feet. Still nothing through the windshield. Jennings is gripping the edge of his seat. His breathing is rapid and shallow. He whispers, "Come on, come on." 200 feet. Decision height. This is the moment. If Benjamin cannot see the runway, he must go around. Climb back into the storm on a dying engine with dwindling fuel. There will not be a second chance. Benjamin stares through the windshield. Rain. Black. Nothing. 150 feet. Nothing. 100 feet. And then Two rows of white lights pierce through the rain like the fingers of God reaching up from the earth. Runway 18, dead ahead, exactly where it should be. Benjamin whispers, "Runway in sight." He disconnects the autopilot. His hands are the aircraft now. He feels every gust through the yoke, every crosswind through the rudder pedals. The runway rushes up at him, short, narrow, glistening with rain. He pulls the thrust lever to idle. The left engine spools down. The nose drops slightly. The main wheels reach for the concrete. Contact. The impact is firm but controlled. The tires bark against the wet surface, sending twin rooster tails of water into the black air behind them. Benjamin slams full reverse thrust on the left engine. The roar fills the cockpit like a living thing. He presses the brake pedals. Hard, steady, progressive. The anti-skid system chatters beneath his feet. The aircraft decelerates. The end of the runway is visible now, a line of red lights growing closer, closer, closer. The A320 stops, 82 feet from the end of the runway, 82 feet between 174 lives and the darkness beyond. Benjamin's hands are still on the yoke. His feet are still on the pedals. He is breathing. The engine is winding down. Rain hammers the fuselage. And then, silence. A silence so complete it feels holy. Jennings turns to him. His face is white, his eyes red, his lips trembling. He opens his mouth to speak, but no words come. He just stares at the 16-year-old boy sitting in the captain's seat who just did what no one, no instructor, no examiner, no airline captain would have believed possible. Benjamin reaches up and takes the wooden A320 model from the glare shield. He holds it in both hands. His fingers are shaking now. For the first time all night, his fingers are finally shaking. He looks at the 5 words carved into the belly. "The sky doesn't care what color you are." He closes his eyes. And for the first time since his mother died, Benjamin Townsend allows himself to cry. For 3 full seconds, the cabin is silent. Not a breath, not a whisper. 174 people frozen in the space between terror and disbelief. Then, Grace Anderson starts clapping. One pair of hands, slow, deliberate, steady, like a heartbeat returning to life. Then a second pair joins. A third. A fourth. Within 10 seconds, the entire cabin erupts. Passengers are standing, clapping, screaming, sobbing, hugging strangers they ignored 3 hours ago. A grown man in a business suit is weeping into his hands. A mother is squeezing her daughter so tight the child gasps. The elderly man who grabbed Benjamin's wrist in the aisle is now pressing both palms together and bowing his head toward the cockpit door as if he is praying to something sacred. The heavy-set businessman in the golf shirt, the one who laughed, the one who said Benjamin had never seen $300, is standing motionless in the aisle. His face is blank. His mouth is open. Tears are running down his cheeks and he does not bother to wipe them. He is staring at the cockpit door and he cannot move. Karen Bellows steps into the cockpit. She looks at Benjamin, still in the captain's seat, the wooden model in his trembling hands, tears streaming silently down his face. She opens her mouth, closes it, opens it again. Then her legs give out. She drops to her knees on the cockpit floor, covers her face with both hands, and sobs. Deep, broken, shaking sobs that come from somewhere she has never allowed anyone to see. She does not say, "I'm sorry." She cannot. The words are too small for what she has done and what she has witnessed. Jennings unbuckles his harness, stands up, and does something no first officer is trained to do. He extends his hand to Benjamin, not as a co-pilot to a passenger, but as one aviator to another. Benjamin looks at the hand. He takes it. Jennings holds on for a long time and says quietly, "I have never seen anything like that in my life, and I never will again." Outside, red and blue lights flash through the rain. Emergency vehicles surround the aircraft. The door opens. Cold, wet air floods the cabin. Benjamin Townsend is still sitting in the captain's seat. He is 16 years old. He has no license, no uniform, no rank. But tonight, He outflew the storm, outflew the odds, and outflew every lie the world ever told about him. The paramedics reach the cockpit first. They carry Captain Ronald Beckett's body out on a stretcher, his face covered with a white sheet. As he passes through the cabin, passengers bow their heads. Benjamin watches from the captain's seat until the stretcher disappears. He whispers, "Rest easy, Captain." No one hears him. Benjamin steps out of the cockpit. The moment he appears in the cabin doorway, the applause erupts, louder, rawer than before. Passengers reach for him as he walks down the aisle. Hands touch his shoulders, his arms. Strangers say, "Thank you," with voices that break halfway through. A little girl in row 19 holds out a teddy bear. Benjamin kneels, smiles, and gently pushes it back into her arms. "You keep him safe," he says. Grace Anderson is waiting at row 33. She pulls him into an embrace so tight he cannot breathe. She holds him for 20 seconds without a word. When she lets go, her scrubs are wet with his tears. Then he sees Pamela Hargrove. She is standing in the aisle. Her cashmere blazer is wrinkled. Mascara has carved black rivers down both cheeks. Her pearls are gone. Her hands are shaking. She looks at Benjamin and something collapses inside her. Something built over 60 years of certainty about who matters and who does not. She steps forward. Her mouth trembles. She tries to speak 3 times before the words come. "I am so sorry. For what I said. For what I did to you." Her voice cracks. "You saved my life, and I treated you like you were nothing." Benjamin looks at her. He has every right to turn away, but he does not. He nods once and says, "I forgive you, ma'am. I hope you remember this next time you see someone who looks like me." Pamela's knees buckle. She collapses into the nearest seat, burying her face in her hands, crying harder than she has ever cried. Not for herself. For the first time in her life. Not for herself. By morning, the story is everywhere. Every network, every front page, every feed. CNN runs. 16-year-old orphan lands crippled jet, saves 174 lives. The clip of Benjamin's Mayday call leaks within hours. His calm voice saying words that will be replayed 10 million times. "I have no license, but I can fly this airplane." Social media erupts. Hashtag Benjamin Townsend trends #1 worldwide. Hashtag The Sky Doesn't Care becomes a movement. The airline announces a full scholarship, not just flight school, but a 4-year aerospace engineering degree at any university of his choosing. 3 major airlines offer him a guaranteed cadet position the day he turns 18. The FAA opens a review not to punish him, but to study how a self-taught teenager performed a landing their own simulations later confirm had a success probability of 11%. Captain Earl Davis watches the press conference from his living room in Overtown. The video of her shoving Benjamin in the galley, captured by a passenger's phone through a crack in the curtain, goes viral the same week. 42 million views. The comments are merciless, but Benjamin never shares it, never mentions it. When a reporter asks him about Karen, he says only, "She was scared. We were all scared. I hope she finds peace." That single sentence gets more shares than the video itself. There is a moment on that recording, the cockpit audio that the FAA released 6 months later, that most people miss the first time they hear it. It comes right after Benjamin's Mayday call, right after he tells Miami Center his name and age. There is a 2-second gap of dead air, and then, very faintly, you can hear him exhale. Just one breath, steady, controlled. The breath of a boy who already knew he could do this, who always knew, but had never been given the chance to prove it. That breath is the entire story. Because Benjamin Townsend did not become extraordinary on Flight 2136. He was extraordinary long before he stepped onto that plane. He was extraordinary in the library at age 10 reading manuals no one assigned him. He was extraordinary in the community center at age 15, flying simulators no one knew existed. He was extraordinary every single day he woke up in a system that forgot him and chose to learn anyway. The airplane did not make him. It simply revealed what was already there. And that is the question this story leaves with every one of us. How many Benjamins are out there right now? Brilliant, gifted, extraordinary, sitting in the last row, wearing second-hand shoes, being told they do not belong. How many are being searched, doubted, shoved aside, and dismissed before they ever get the chance to show what they can do? How many talents has this world already lost because someone looked at the outside and decided they already knew what was inside? The sky does not care what color you are. The sky does not care how much money your parents had. The sky only asks one question. Can you fly? Benjamin Townsend can fly. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment telling me, have you ever been judged before you were given a chance? Subscribe to this channel so you never miss a story like this again. And remember, the sky does not care. Neither should we. Hashtag Benjamin Townsend. Hashtag the sky doesn't care. Hashtag justice for Benjamin.